Palestine to Israel was the necessary solution for the Holocaust and explain the Balfour Declaration, issued by Arthur Balfour on 1917 on the date of 11/2, like the Days of the Dead on 11/2, with 59 days remaining in the year, and 59 days remaining in the year, like the date of the Lemuria, another day where they're honoring the dead. Romo slays his twin brother Remo 181. It's like the encomienda system. Come means eight. Comienda means dinner, like supper. The dimensions of the Last Supper, 181 inches by 346 inches. So Resolution 181 was issued or established on 11/29 of 1947, and that was on the 333rd day of the year, like 111 times 3 equaling 333. The days of the dead on 11/1 and 11/2. Now, the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, when 1830 in military time equals 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes, like the Days of the Dead on 11/1. We're talking about the plagiarization of the ancient chematists, the ancient shamans, from the longest day of night, winter solstice, to the longest day of sunlight, summer solstice, equals 183 days. 1830, the year 1830, that's when Horus Man, not to be mistaken with Horus the falcon sun god of Egypt, when you're observing the sun from the longest day of night to the longest day of sunlight, you got 183 days. And then the date 1830, you got Horace Mann, a Massachusetts legislator, advocating for all the free public schools across the country. Now, Andrew Jackson, one of the only two Grand Master Masons, on 528, like your solar plexus chakra, 528 hertz at the center of the electromagnetic color spectrum, from 528 of 1830, Andrew Jackson, a Grand Master Mason, signed the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528. Now, Resolution 181 on 11/29 of 1947, from the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528 to Resolution 181 on 11/29 of 1947, that equals 1410 months. Now, the number 141, I'm going to get to that in just a second, because the only two Grand Master Masons were Andrew Jackson and President Harry Truman, and he endorsed Resolution 181 on 4/14 of 1948. So these two people are connected because they're both related to King John, who signed the Magna Carta, and parasite shit in it. All this stuff had Anglo-Saxon rights in it, and everything up until this point has all been Anglo-Saxon uh, knowledge and technology that they've been using with these cycles and stuff. So the number 141, separating the Indian Removal Act and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, or the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528 to Resolution 181 on 11/29 of 1947, that equaling 1410 months. So there's 37 degrees in Freemasonry, right? Both these dipshits are Freemasons. So 370 minutes equals 610 in time. There's 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 minutes equaling 101. 101 minutes equals 141 in time. See what I'm saying? So another example of them using that same cycle pattern is from the Lahaina fires on 808, the Lion's Gate. 101 times 8 equals 808. Their area code is 808 in Maui. From the Lahaina fires on 808 to the Gaza Strip attack on 1007 equals 61 days, like 61 circles in the flower of life, 61 minutes equaling 101. So, back to the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 And the days of the dead on 11/1, when 1830 in time equals 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes. I'm over here at the Capitol in Utah. Got the Capitol building behind me. It's a pretty overcasty, kind of shitty day. But over there, whenever you're inside the building, inside the actual nipple of the building, I guess you'd call it, there's a mural of the Golden Spike ceremony and Brigham Young arriving here on Pioneer Day. So Brigham Young, he sent his men to the California, and two of his men ended up at Sutter's Mill when John Marshall panned his first gold and created the California Gold Rush of 1850. Just like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, they built their first jail in Sutter's Mill in Coloma, right there in 1850. Um, yeah, so two of the Mormon battalion were there, and it took Brigham Young 111 days to travel to Utah, like 1110 minutes, 1830 equaling 1110 minutes, equaling 18.5 hours. Also, he was a board member of the Central Pacific Railroad Station, where it connected the Transcontinental Railroad Station here, right in Promontory Point, Utah, from Sacramento to Promontory Point. The first Mason Lodge was built in Sacramento in 1850, right before California became a state. So from the distance from Sacramento to Promontory Point, the railroad was 1110 kilometers, and the price tag on that thing was $181 billion to complete. I literally saw this with my own eyes on a plaque at the museum in Placer County. I was in Placerville at Hangman's Tree, and it's this bar now where they literally have a man hanging from the actual bar, and the historical number on the sign out front, 141, just like from the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28 to the resolution in 181 on 11/29 of 1947, equaling 1410 months in between, and 101 minutes equaling 141. 37 degrees in Freemasonry, 370 minutes equaling 610, like 61 circles in the flower of life, 61 minutes equaling 101, 101 minutes equals 141. Now, Abraham Lincoln had the mass record hanging of innocent indigenous people, on 12/26, and the mass record shooting on Lakota men was on 12/29. Whenever I was traveling through all the different mining towns from the California Gold Rush, whenever I got to Virginia City, the bell rang for the church. The address of the church in Virginia City was 111, just like the this mocking of the Days of the Dead on 11/1, and how that lines up with the Indian Removal Act and Resolution 181 and the Fugitive Slave Act. How does hold on a second. So when that bell rang from the church with the address 111, it rang from 12/26 to 12/29, like the Lincoln's mass hanging on 12/26 and the mass record shooting on Lakota men on 12/29. So President Lincoln sent Patrick Edward Connor to go and watch the overland route, to guard the overland route. That's basically where the Transcontinental Railroad connected the Central Pacific and the Union Pacific, and that's Omaha, Nebraska to Sacramento, connecting the West Coast with the East Coast. So the people that own these trains, they were sending mail, money, all the ammo, guns, everything to basically create the economy, build all these little towns. And it was the original news, the original it was the original media system. And yeah, it was like having a time machine. These people were one step ahead of everybody owning these trains. So he's guarding this overland route. That's literally where they had the ceremonial golden spike. That's where Brigham Young was a board member of the railroad station there, and um, supposedly these guys were feuding, but the history says that these guys were working in the same areas. So I call bullshit on that. Um, so Patrick Edward Connor was responsible for the Bear River Massacre on 129. When you count the whole year, 129 equals 12 months and 29 days, like 1229, the Battle of Wounded Knee, the largest shooting on Lakota men. 1229 equals 11 months and 29 days, like Resolution 181 on 1129. So, whenever I was at the La Madeleine Cathedral here in Utah, after noticing that Brigham Young, it took him 111 days to arrive to Utah on Pioneer Day, 724, when 181 times 4 pieces of pie equals 724 Pioneer Day. He's responsible for the Circleville Massacre on the Paiute tribe. That was on 421, the 111th day of the year. This number 111 just keeps popping up, mocking the Days of the Dead and mocking all these dates where they've genocided or created laws, created these acts and these resolutions, and they're just genocide resolutions where they're given. It's like the encomienda. The encomienda was created in the early 1500s, like 1503, and the Spanish crown was basically giving the right to all colonialists to genocide or enslave anybody on the lands that they were making claim to get their gold and their silver to give back to the crown. And these were the Jesuits, the Roman Catholic priests, and they were among the first colonists to be colonizing South America, North America, the Moors through the lands of Egypt and or the lands of Chem. So um, where am I at here? Yeah, the mockery of this. It's literally written everywhere I go. Whenever I went to the museum and saw the plaque where it showed how much it cost the Union Pacific Railroad to be built from Sacramento to Promontory Point, being $181 billion and being 1110 kilometers, 690 miles. Whenever I saw that, I realized that that museum was at the county courthouse of Placer County, Sacramento metropolitan area. Sacrament meaning ritual, and it was at the county court's house, like quartz crystals. Where did the ancient Egyptians and ancient chemists do their rituals and ceremonies? In a crystal altar. Crystal holds perfect time, and yeah, the whole entire ceremony of the court system is a mockery of the ancient chemists, with the falcon sun god Horus, the eagle being right there, plaqued in the back. Anyways, so lost my train of thought. 1 second. I must have just I lost it. Just whenever I start talking shit, it's like the channel just cuts off. The ego, was talking some shit, and the channel just cuts off. So whenever I was at the Cathedral of the La Madeleine, I was there for 4 days documenting all the times that the bell rang, and I just wanted to see all the coding that they had. If the bell was ringing at the church in Virginia City at those times, I was like, they got to be doing some weird shit over here too. So whenever I went to the Cathedral of the La Madeleine, the bell rang at 4:14. That's the date that Truman endorsed Resolution 181. Also, the plaque out front was praising memory to some bishop. I can't remember his name, but the year that they had in bold letters was 1917. That's the same year that the Balfour Declaration was issued. So we've already connected two two things because Truman endorsed Resolution 181, and the Balfour Declaration basically was the domino effect that set up Resolution 181 because he promised Palestine to Israel. Britain basically had a hold of Palestine through the British Mandate up until they gave it to the UN in 1947, and the UN created Resolution 181. And homeboy Truman, Grandmaster Mason, endorsed that shit 1,410 months after Grandmaster Mason Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 5/28. So Horace Mann, advocating for free schools, all the free public schools in 1803. Horus, the falcon sun god of Egypt, when you're observing the sun from the longest day of night to the longest day of sunlight equals 183 days. So whenever you're observing the sun, that's a very, very important number. And to be mocking the Egyptian falcon sun god, Horus, is it's disappointing, very disappointing. So another time that that bell rang was at 1:29, whenever Patrick Edward Connor, who was sent here by Abraham Lincoln, who had the mass hanging, and Patrick Edward Connor was responsible for the Bear River Massacre on 129, the largest massacre on the Shoshone tribe. The bell also rang at 12:29, like the Battle of Wounded Knee, the largest massacre on Lakota men shot down by the U.S. Army. And the bell also rang at 11:29, like Resolution 181. Why wouldn't it if the year 1917 for the Balfour Declaration was on the front of the church there, and the bell went off at 4:14, like Truman endorsing Resolution 181? Of course, it's going to ring at 11:29. So when I went next door to the Roman Catholic diocese building that's right next door to the Cathedral of the Madeleine, I noticed that the address to that place was 303 in ginormous, huge number letters. And the Indian Removal Act of 1830, when 183 minutes equals 303 in time. And it was both of those buildings, the Cathedral of the La Madeleine and the Roman Catholic Diocese, are both on B Street. And whenever you look at B Street on the corner there, the number 315 is there. So B Street and 315. And knowing that the rune birth is the letter B, so we're giving birth to something. So what are we giving birth to? Well, knowing that the number 315 is the date, or it's the year of the March of Ides. The March of Ides is when Julius Caesar was assassinated, stabbed 33 times, like Jesus dying when he was 33 years old, like the address being 303 on that building there. 315 divided by 5 platonic solids equals 63. The date 630 equals 181 days, like Resolution 181. Now, the date 303 on my calendar cipher chart, when counting back from 1221, the date equaling 1221 hertz, the date 303 equals 36 hertz, and it also equals 63 days on leap year, like the date 630 equaling 181 days, like the March of Ides. 315, that being the number on the actual street sign. 315 divided by 5 equals 63. So the Indian Removal Act of 1830, how 1830, 183 minutes equals 303 in time, and 183, 1830 in time equals 1110 minutes. 1830 in military time also converts to 6:30 in time. So see how all that shit connects? The date 330, March March 30th also equals 63 hertz on my calendar cipher. So for all those things to connect and for that coding to be that strong is completely insane. The bell also rang at 5:11 at the Cathedral of the La Madeleine. 5:11 is the day of the Lemuria. Romo slays his twin brother Remo. 44 BC. The March of Ides, that's 44 BC when that happened. Romo slays his twin brother Remo. The Roman Republic falls. The Roman Empire begins. So, these people worship the square. The rune for the square, the letter C and the letter K are both runes for the square. It's like a square on its side to where if you put it up, it'll be the L. But the order of the J suits, IXXI, their little symbol, in Roman numerals, that equals 911. So 911 minus your resolution 181 equals 730, mirroring L. You flip 73 upside down, it literally spells the word L. And to top that off, the date 7-3 equals 185 days, like the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. 7-3 also equals 181 days, like Resolution 181, colonizing Palestine, and Romo slaying his twin brother Remus. So when I be count back on my calendar cipher, these are all my video shorts. You have to dig in there to find the videos I have. There's thousands, so good luck. But I'm just not in a space right now to be teaching this thoroughly or to have my master class yet. I'm just basically traveling. I've been traveling in my Jeep since November 4th, and I'm still kind of looking for, well, I still am looking for a place to settle down because I'm just about tapped out and my Instagram got deleted or it got logged out a few days ago to where I'm not, it's not letting me log back in to where that was one of my uh, biggest sources of income in this journey of investigating all this shit, and it's been cut off. So now it's like it was right after I did right after I did the story on the Cathedral of the La Madeleine and connecting all those the coding that they had with the bell ringing. So, but yeah, who cares about me? Let's get back to the story here. So the bell rang on 5:11, and it rang for the loudest out of all the times that it rang. When it rang at 5:11, the Lemuria, it rang. It was like somebody was in there just ringing the shit out of this thing. Like everybody's gonna hear this, and I was like, all right, dude, I get it. Guys are pushing that Lemuria frequency out there. So that's Romo slays his twin brother Remo. 181, one eats the other one. Like the encomienda, the Spanish crown releases the colonists to go and genocide everybody, and one eating the other one. Gome means eight. Comienda means dinner, like supper. The dimensions of the Last Supper painting by Leonardo da Vinci. The dimensions, you can Google this shit. It's 181 inches by 346 inches. 181. Leonardo da Vinci was trying to tell us something. So the railroad costing $181 billion to build, and Brigham Young was a board member of that shit. He arrived on Pioneer Day. 181 times 4 equals 724. Pioneer Day. I mean, I'm in the fucking twilight zone. I'm in Masonville, and Brigham's the mayor over here in Utah. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna just unless anything pops in, I might just leave it at that. Short and sweet, 25-minute video rather than my usual hour and a half to 2 hour long videos. So, but I just wanted to pump out this pattern that keeps. I just keep seeing it with all the studies of colonial magic. Whenever I'm seeing these genocides happen and these resolution in these acts and how they all connect. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention how Resolution 181 also connects with the Indian Removal Act of 528 of 1830. It connects in two ways because 1830 converts to 630, and so the date 630 equals 181 days, and 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528 hertz. So, yeah, this is it's it's definitely some super advanced sigil mathematics, and I believe that the ancient shamans that were persecuted by your colonizing, whatever you want to call them, just people Christianizing and trying to religiousize all these indigenous people that were just practicing their own techie, cool mathematics and magic, and they had to come in there and control them just because they wanted to get that gold and get that wealth and build new systems of living. Um, yeah, I just think that we should all be aware of this plagiarization of the original people. I think that the original people that they all slaughtered were super highly intelligent, and we're getting back to that time where people are starting to create their own metaphysics, and people are creating their own stories that are becoming super intelligent. And yeah, you don't need a piece of paper, and you don't need to go to these schools of indoctrination that were funded by BlackRock and the Rockefellers. Yeah, 1902, the Rockefellers funded the Board of Education the same year that the Jewish Trust Association was created in 1902, and that was, um, yeah, all these. I feel like these are all just domino effects of banksters and colonists planning 100 years ahead, and now we're in the effects of all of their plans, and shit's definitely getting weird. Um, yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. Leave it short and sweet. You guys have a beautiful evening, and thanks for watching.